They've been like.
I'm busy. Yeah. I just got home.
There's a big trash can out there.
Teaching?
No, actually just seminar, so. But it's fun class anyway. Again, long. We're having a break minutes soon, so that's good.
Oh, I know, and it's on. Like, hello. Yes.
How's it going? So is the hard one kind of off?
Yes. No, it's right there.
Do you have any? Wait, you have pictures?
The British took this one. It's really good.
Oh my gosh, it does. With the leaves and stuff. Look how big he's getting.
He's walking really stably now. 3 weeks ago.
Real ID.
Yeah, he had a hole in his heart. Patched the hole and he's gradually.
Wow.
And then next one's due in
When
February.
it popped up there.
And she just had a echo for the baby's heart, and it's all 5 years ago. No problems with that baby's heart.
No, I know, but it's much easier than it was.
Yeah, the others not.
Right.
Yes, they were like, oh, no,
Was that what did they call that?
no, it's just like a spontaneous random gene. So,
All right. Well,
thanks for
that's-
asking.
Yeah.
Your assist.
Come on in. It looks like there's some seats over there.
So, just the view from the.
Oh, nice.
So it's like 7 bedrooms. And didn't charge them anything.
Come on in.
I know, and it's a hard seat. We were trying to like strategically place people.
Nice.
You know what?
I have friends that have a house down there. I don't think it's as big as that, but yeah, I haven't been there yet. It's not in Boone, it's in Banner Elks, it's a little bit further west.
I just talked to him.
Yeah, I haven't, I've driven in Boone, but I haven't visited.
You okay? Yeah, we'll just go ahead and make it when Dave comes in. Sure. We'll begin in about 1 minute.
You were so cool.
Yeah, I've heard of that. They're doing that on Instagram.
Where's the soup from?
Up in Orange.
Manchester's table. Do you like it?
Get around.
She's really wonderful. It's your legend version. Okay. Yeah, just like a couple series. I just feel like some combination of having children and then the
I don't
pandemic.
know. I don't know. We have friends who
in the city anymore.
own a boat that
We have a
way.
couple seats on there. Like
Is that how it shook down for
You
you?
know, and they.
What?
Is that how it shook down for you, like kids?
From the outside, it
Yeah.
seems like it went fine.
So, I
don't
mean,
know.
So we used to, I mean, we came, Elias was 3 when we moved here, and we got to go around a fair bit and got babysitters, and then having the second, he wasn't very old, then we were in lockdown together, so. But the oldest is now 12, and Like, we've been to a couple concerts at the National. We have a babysitter built in now, so we're getting there.
Yeah.
But it's real weird. We're like, I remember you. Like, we went to grad school together. We were married.
I follow
But yes,
church on
we're like pretty well lived.
or something. I think I saw that.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Kelly.
Good evening and welcome to St. Paul's Episcopal Church. My name is Kelly and I serve as one of the associates here. We're just so glad that you all are here for our faith and culture conversation. This is a series that we began during COVID, all online. So this is actually our second one in person, which feels really exciting. But it's a really amazing opportunity to discuss critical issues in our community and in the world through a faith lens in particular, and as well as it relates to our culture itself. So tonight our topic is gun violence. And first I'm going to introduce our co-hosts, and then Dave will actually introduce our two guest speakers. So first we have Christine Lakritz-Marquis. She is an associate professor of church history at Union Presbyterian Seminary in the North Side here in Richmond, also the director of the THM program. And then we have Dave Coogan, who is an associate professor of English at VCU. Both of them are parishioners here at St. Paul's, and we're so grateful that they are willing to share their gifts with us and sharing these conversations with many speakers we have had. So I will pass things over to Dave, although I'll quickly say we will have opportunities for questions and answers at many points during it. We have a mic set up back there, although Ellis, can people just speak kind of from their seats?
Yeah, definitely.
We're testing out a new kind of technology. We're also streaming right now, so some folks are just participating online. So we're just grateful for your grace as we learn and adjust to this new technology and these new rhythms. But again, feel free to ask questions throughout. We really encourage that. So sorry, go ahead, Dave.
Oh, good evening, everybody. I guess my job here is to introduce the two men to my right, and I'm happy to do it. To my far right is Stan Craddock. Stan is the co-author of Writing Our Way Out, Memoirs from Jail. This book was published in 2015 with me and several other people that formed this writing collective in the Richmond City Jail. And we formed this collective to see if people could write their ways out of the I guess the mindsets or the lives that had led them into the jail. They did that, and many years, that was 2006. And so 10 years later, everybody gets out, and Stan was the last one to get out of jail out of that original group. And then the book was published in 2015. Anyway, this progressed onward into this whole movement that became a really big part of my life as a professor at VCU, but also just as a human being and a citizen in the city, to help people figure out how they can live a better life that involves less violence, less crime, and all that. Anyway, enter Farrhard El-Amin, who met me maybe 4 years or 3 or 4 years later after the book was published. I'm teaching this class on campus, and Stan and several of his co-authors are a part of this. VCU students are involved, and where everybody's writing their life stories to try to figure out a different way of living to get. And El-Amin came and sat in my class with me, and we just hit it off, and we've been involved in a bunch of other projects since then. Stan and El-Amin have been together on the podcast, Writing Our Way Out, where we talked about this topic and similar ones, engaged with the city and social change. So I'm really happy to bring Stan Craddock and Farrhard El-Amin of the Richmond City Police Department with you tonight. So, thank you. That's what we have there.
Yeah, so, and I just have to say, I'm really excited because many, many years ago, when I was like a new parishioner here, Dave came with you guys to my child's elementary school, and so we heard Stan and some of the other guys speak, and so I remember this, and so I was really psyched to finally get to meet you. So, all right, so my question to both of you, you can kind of choose which one of you feels comfortable answering first, is just a very broad question. That is, what do you know about faith, and when did you come to know it?
My mother, over in Bird Park, I grew up in the Bird Park area over there with City Stadium in Carolina. My mother was very rooted in Christianity, where sometimes I wouldn't get a whipping, she'd go get the oil.
Okay.
You know, so at a young age, I was introduced to spirituality through belts, through oil, and through and just through living.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The thing is, I appreciate that I never like to know what questions I'm going to be asked. That way I can't give you the politically correct answer.
Yeah, that's why I didn't tell you in advance.
Yeah, no, even if you would have tried, I would have been like, no. But now I'm like, I wish I...
That's on me then.
I came out real easy
That's on
here,
me.
yeah.
Because like Dave, we haven't gotten into that.
No, we didn't.
Oh, dude, you're messing me up.
I truly did think about it a few hours ago, but I'm like, no, he's gonna want it.
Okay. So, my dad died in July,
Mm.
and he grew up on a farm, in Hanover, and he grew up questioning everything.
Mm.
Everything. Like, he'd be in Sunday school asking the preachers about Jesus and how is this, and I wouldn't want him to die for my sins, that type of stuff. So he's telling me stories. Long story short, he became a Muslim in the 70s, ended up meeting Muhammad Ali because of that. But here's the thing, you know how we try to be that person?
Yep.
And what drove me to find out about Jesus was because I didn't really appreciate the way my dad was living in the faith he chose. So I said, if I do the opposite of what my dad did, then I'll be okay. But here's the thing, he talked about God so much that, I'm obsessed with it, so. Here's what I found. And I get signs every now and then. I saw a marquee when I was in New York one time and said, if you're looking for a sign, here it is. Stuff like that. No,
I get it
seriously.
though, I get it. Yeah.
But it shows up,
Yeah.
so
Yep.
I'm very sensitive about that, and I don't tell anybody what to do, but God tends to lead me to the right people. And then ask me questions like that on Facebook Live. And I start going to Bible study and all this stuff. I got baptized in Bed-Stuy, New York because I like a rapper from New York.
What rapper?
Biggie Smalls. Anyway, and then going to Bible study, I found out about Jesus and I had dreams, and I'll tell y'all about that later. Anyway, faith is a huge thing, and I'm a police officer, by the way. And the way I police, and I'm blessed to be able to police the way I police, I do it through faith and not through fear. So, I don't know how this is gonna go now, that you asked that off the top. I'm probably gonna do a lot of crying.
It leads to the next question, and for both of you. How have you struggled to reconcile your understanding of faith with new experiences unfolding? And I know that, there's been a lot. So Stan, let me start with you because, I referenced earlier that you wrote your story in Writing Our Way Out. I'm sure, and you referenced growing up on the West End. So you had one sense of faith from your mother back then, but I know from what you've written and what you've told, your faith developed in prison a lot, just from what you read and what you studied and experiences you've had. But between your early days in prison, your faith changed, right, or developed?
It did.
Can you talk more about that?
I switched somewhere in prison where I ended up, when I was in the jail, I ended up the chapel's assistant. How that happen? You know?
Right.
But I started looking at faith in God, and I wasn't willing to say God. It's too small. It's just too small. It's God is an energy. God is an energy, right? And when you see the clouds move, right, that's not a God. That's an energy. It moves. When a baby is born, right, who touches the heart? It can't be a dormant energy. It's got to be an alive energy. And I started recognizing, right, that it's bigger than all of our understanding. If you think, or if I think just reading the Bible, right, I got it. I didn't. I didn't. Dave came before Dave. I had just finished doing 13 years in prison. And I came home, my mother was living, and I didn't last on the street 90 days. And I went back and did 10 more years. And when I got down to Richmond City Jail, I cried. And sometimes tears aren't visible. My heart was broken. My heart was crying. I told my mother when I was in prison that was it. I wasn't going back. And 90 days later, I'm back down at Richmond City Jail. I wanted to change my life, but I didn't know how to change my life. I met an OER lady. What's her name, Dave?
Sharita.
Sharita Archie.
Yeah, she connected us.
And I just went to her, right, and I cried before her, and I shared my life with her, and every day this lady would just, people thought I was messing around with the lady, but every day this lady would come get me, and she introduced me to Dave. And the energy of life had to create the atmosphere, right, where change could be grafted, not completely grafted, but just some of it, just some of it. And I met Dave and we started writing, and I had no aspirations to be an author. My only aspiration was to change my life. And Dave gave me an opportunity to regurgitate. And what happened, right, was not just myself, but all the other co-authors of the book. We all regurgitated. And it was some foul smelling stuff. It was some foul experiences. But Dave didn't haul ass. Dave stood right there and put his boots on, and he started moving all of this matter. He started moving all of this matter around, you know, where no one else had ever done that in my life. I have no idea what the question is.
Reconcile faith, all right. You want to pass to El-Amin about
No,
you want to finish what you're saying?
I want to finish it.
Go ahead.
Dave, when I was a child, I didn't love. Dave asked me a hell of a question. Dave said, "Why do you love your mother?" I said, "Well, that's my mother." Dave said, "Well, but why?" Yeah. And I didn't know why. I love my mother just out of obligation. That's my mother. And it opened up, why can't I love? You know, why do I love? What's the gain from loving? What's the harvest of loving? Somehow or another, when I went back to prison, I had the embryo of love. And the energy of life, what a crazy place to try to love and care. In penitentiary. And it changed my whole outlook.
Thank you.
Mhm. So on you, bro.
It was how you wrestle with your faith, the way you described it from your childhood with your father, with new experience unfolding. I set him in, you know, his life that led to prison, but you can take it anywhere you want.
No, I'm gonna try to be really brief. Turns out, man, I learned by the stick. You get what I'm saying? So I'm happy-go-lucky. I trust everybody until you give me a reason not to trust you. And if you live like that, you find out you get hurt real bad, right? But let me just fast forward. Let me say this about Stan and people of his ilk. I've always admired. I can't imagine being somewhere for 20-something years for a mistake I made, and then come out and say anything good to anybody, try to help anybody. So I admire you, man. Like my man Ray Neblett, my man Paul, Prince, and I meet these guys, right? And then, especially at my job, right? The thing is, I didn't know growing up, cause I'm a square, y'all. I came up in the county, and I mean, I committed no crimes. Not because I didn't want to, but my mama, I was afraid of her more than the police. So it just wasn't gonna happen. But let me just say that increases my faith. Meeting people like you, Jack. And then, in the way that I meet them, it's not like I'm chasing after them, they get planted into my life.
Right.
On Zoom, I arrest somebody, go to a basketball camp, and not everybody, I'm not saying everybody, but then, y'all hear them talking. I tell Dan, I said, don't let me talk after this thing. Is anybody gonna listen to anything I gotta say? Anyway, so now I'm in a point in my life, I'm almost 50 now, right? And it's very uncomfortable. I have a nephew who was barely making it through COVID. He wasn't supposed to be 2 years old, but now he's 8. And my sister's living day to day, looking for the light at the end of the tunnel, but it ends up being more tunnel. But now I'm finding, because this happened to me too in my life, not to get into a whole lot, but now I'm finding out you're never really in control. You just put one foot in front of the other, and you have faith and let God, right? Now, people say it all the time, but when you're going through it with a protest, I just told Dave a story, and a pandemic, and people yelling at you, and I'm a good officer. I'm a decent officer, let me say that. I'm not perfect every day. I say 4-letter words just like everybody else. But I didn't do what those people on TV did, but I'm paying for it. And I'm like, how is this even possible? So then you're looking for the light in the tunnel, and I'm like, and there's a passage in y'all, I'm not good on quoting scripture, but there's a passage with, there's a thorn in the guy's side, and he wants God to take the thorn out. And God's like, no, my grace is sufficient. Nobody wants that testimony.
Truth.
I mean, nobody. But I've been living it, and I even say, God, no, that's enough. I've had enough of that. Let me just get back to being comfortable and relaxed. And it gets bigger, and then I'm in here, next to Stan, not where I want to be. Although I love being next to Stan, just I don't like to speak at. But anyway, one foot in front of the other, you don't know what's going on. You're not in control, God's in control.
Absolutely. So part of why we've invited you here is to sort of think about the culture of gun violence, right? So we asked you these big, heavy questions because I think we can't really think about the question of gun violence without asking some of these bigger, heavier questions. You said you bring your faith into, that your faith changed when you were in prison. So to get to this culture piece, if a culture is known by its values, traditions, and achievements, what characterizes the culture of gun violence? So like what what is particular about cultures that produce experiences of gun violence?
Listen, let me go first.
I mean, I know that's a big question,
No,
but
I'm gonna be really brief.
yeah.
I don't know it. I only have interacted with people, and they tell me. So a couple of my guys, so I work in the city, y'all, and with the youth. That's my thing. So I'm on there. Some of my guys have committed murder.
Juvenile detention center.
Juvenile detention center.
Yeah.
But that's my passion, right? They're not monsters. They're just like you and I. But the culture, they truly believe that they need a gun to survive. I better get them before they get me. And one of my kids told me, he said, man, you'll change my religion before you'll make me put my gun down. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. I mean, how many people have y'all converted to another religion? Seriously. So these youngins told me that. My man, Toon was 16. It would hit me in the chest like a sledgehammer. I said, wait, what now? I changed my whole approach. One of the reasons I mess with Dave is because I'm chasing different ideas. They really believe it, y'all. And I can't relate. All I know is I gotta do something. So I attach myself to Stan and anyone who I believe has the love in their hearts. And let me say just one more thing, one last question. You said God is energy. I was thinking one night, as hard as I can till my brain locked up until I'm not. And I was like, God is the only entity that matters. And I went to sleep. I was like, hey, I can live with that right there. And of course I thought about it again the next night, but I didn't come with anything. Anyway, they truly believe it. It's not an act. They care about their reputation more than anything else. And they believe that they're gonna die if they don't have a gun and if they don't shoot that guy first.
Okay, and let me just add one question before Stan goes. We talked about this before, the three of us. Where does that come from? Where does that need to feel invincible,
Man, it's the chicken and the egg to me because, listen, we're all humans, right? And we have pride. Everybody's got pride, right?
Yeah.
But we fought. I tell people all the time, I can't remember the last time I saw a black eye. But the guy who gave me the black eye, I'm probably going to be friends with him. Or if I give him a black eye, we're going to be friends later.
Yeah.
But now the kids can't even fight. So I don't know where it changed. That's why I'm like, I'm gonna just tell you what I know.
Yeah.
And Stan's probably gonna tell you way more, and I'm
ready.
just gonna defer.
Yeah, I'm ready. Go ahead, Stan.
You know, before I got here this evening, right at Brooklyn Park and Meadowbridge, they have like a circle.
Yep.
And they have a store called 4 Points or something, right? And I went in there, and there was some young dudes up in there, right? And you know, you can see the gun. It's fashionable now to put the gun right here in your pocket, right? That's the fashion. And I asked, you know, what would it take to eradicate or decrease the numbers of gun violence incidents? And I asked all the guys. And they said, man, I don't know. And when a person tells you they don't know something, it wasn't taught. You know, you go and ask a child their ABCs and they say, I don't know it, I don't know my ABCs. Well, there was no teacher. So you can't expect someone to act in a way that we act because we've been taught. They haven't. You have music, you have the culture, you have all of these external factors that create an internal being. The guns are your problems. The lack of love, the lack of teaching, the lack of concern. When the whole country goes to war, what mindset? Do you really think that the soldiers only have the mindset to fight? The whole country. start justifying war. And you get desensitized. You get desensitized. In the community that I live in, because I lived over Jackson Ward too, right, Gilpin. The lack of programs with validity, not the lack of programs, but the lack of programs that actually deal with problems. And if you don't deal with the problem, right, then how? Why are you bewildered when you see the cancer spread? You don't deal with it. When I was down in jail, I made the Richmond Times Dispatch, and I didn't even try. There were some guys, right, that wanted to hurt a dude, stab the dude, and I intervened. Because of this love thing, man. Any other time I wouldn't have saw it.
Yeah.
It wasn't my business.
Right.
You know, who pulls up on a person with a gun?
Right.
Who pulls up on a person that's stabbing a person? Hey, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I did. Because I understood what God had cultivated me for.
Yeah.
I'm a soldier. There's no ifs and buts about it. I don't mind fighting. I really don't. But today, I want to fight for what's right. Not a selfish fight, but just what I want to benefit from. And I was talking to the young lady out there, and she said there's a, what's the word, holistical approach. It truly is. You have to come at it with all directions. And although I don't have the certification as what a lived experience, I have lived and experienced. When I was in prison, 20 years, more than 20, 22, I never saw it as 20 years. I saw something in the Bible that said, weep and endure for a night. And joy cometh in the morning. So I stopped living day 2000, 2002, 2003. I just looked at it as one night that I would weep and the joy would come in the morning. I know without a doubt that the tools that Al-Amin has, the tools that Dave have, and the tool that this room have, it's to build something. And it's going to take all of our tools.
A follow-up for you.
No, sir.
Okay,
No, sir.
look, I know you don't like to talk after Stan, but this is gonna be good. You're gonna like this.
Okay.
Well, so,
You nailed it.
no. He's asking like what we can do with the tools we have, right? And he's also saying that when he was in prison, he watched one day go after another, 1 year go after another, but he believed that there was a better way. Am I right? That's
correct.
He was, and I remember because I was part of those letters, and he would always sign his letters with a sunshine.
Every letter.
And he explained to me, maybe once in the letter, but definitely later, after the letters were all over, he said, I couldn't see the sun, but I knew there was a sun. I was locked up. I didn't get a window, but I knew that the sun was still rising. So I wrote to you, Dave, here's the sun, because the sun gives us life, gives us energy, gives us the brightness. And so he had it in him to believe that there was truth, hope, love, even though he had struggled and he was regretting everything he'd been through, right?
Right.
So you see people like that. You see them in your work every day. I mean, we talked about, the young man that we were on the podcast with last time. Rel, we were gonna have him come here. Rel's not doing so well today, he can't come. But, you're in constant dialogue with people that you know, are in one stage or another of seeing the light or falling down, right?
Yeah.
So how do you think about that in terms of how we can steer the larger culture? Is there some way that we can all be good stewards of helping everybody come to see the light the way that Stan described it in his experience? Which, I mean, he didn't have to help that guy, and I know the scene, it's in Writing Our Way Up, Memoirs from Jail. Get the book, you'll read the scene for yourself.
It's amazing.
He stops a guy from dying in jail. He's about to get shanked in his bed, and Stan stops him, and he was not that guy. He had spent years not being that guy that got in the way of helping somebody else, but this time he did it. El-Amin.
Man, that's loaded.
I know.
But you know what? And this may sound, you know, pie in the sky. So I got a couple things. So I'll talk about the practical and pie in the sky part. Dude, I believe everything happens for a reason. There's a book, Richard Bach, and I'm probably saying it wrong, Nothing by Chance. When you had those moments where you're like, if I wasn't here, if this stop light was green, then I wouldn't have met this person. Stuff like that. Man, seriously. So, you don't know, but I saw y'all originally at the JCC on Monument.
Oh yeah, I remember
And
that.
I'm sitting in the back, y'all, and it was like 200 people there.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in the back, and who was the guy? It wasn't Stan.
No, it was Terrence and
Terrence. And doesn't he stutter or something like that?
Terrence and Kelvin. Kelvin's got the stutter. Yeah.
That's my man, KB.
KB. Yep.
Yeah.
That was.
So I'm sitting in the back, I can't see how short I am, I can't see anything. But I'm hearing this stuff, and all I'm thinking is,
I forgot about that.
ooh,
Yeah.
man, I just gotta, listen, I got a heart for the kids. And I think when you start combining the stuff, like I got a heart for the kids, maybe he got now in some way, and if you're just paying attention, right? And here's what I find, people turn that down.
Yeah.
And don't help each other.
Yeah.
Like, this is the time. I'm not talking about, I'm going to help somebody today, because it never works like that. I'm going to help somebody today, I'm going to help
It's the most
somebody today.
inconvenient moment when you get that.
It's when you're like, I ain't helping nobody today, not anybody else, that's it.
Yep.
I'm going to lock my door.
Yep.
And then you get into a good nap and everything, somebody come banging on your door.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
I'm serious, that's how it happens. The fact that I'm even sitting here, man, come on. I'm a police officer.
Yeah. Right.
Y'all listen, I was a customer service manager at Verizon until I was 35 years old. I don't even like cops. I'm serious. Y'all go look at all the tapes. I'll tell the same story. I had no intention. When I found out what cops really do, if you really doing it for the right reason, when you eat pancakes, your body produces endorphins and you feel good. Helping people does the same thing.
True.
So when I stop being scared of people and I'm like, well, they call 911 not to wish me happy birthday. They call 911 to say, hey, I need some help. And look at me, little dude. And I'm like, do you want me to help? So, and I'm a nerd, so I'm like, all right, well, I know you can do this, but what about this? And yes, sometimes I have $5, whatever, but it connects. And then you'll see somebody you locked up or somebody you helped 10 years ago, and they're like, hey, no, you helped me.
Right.
Do this, that, and the third. Hey, listen, all cops don't love donuts, but there's a bakery called West Hampton Bakery on Patterson
Oh, yes.
Avenue.
Yes, there
Ooh,
is.
my goodness.
Yeah, like that.
I try not to go in there with my uniform on. I go in there one day, I spoke somewhere, and a lady saw me, she recognized me with a mask on. She says, hey, you spoke to my kids. Can I buy you donuts? But it keeps happening. Dave calls me up and says, hey man, I have a thing at the church. You want to come? I'm like, yeah, all right. Listen, I like to end my day at 4:30. 4:30, Dave, is it going to be before 4:30? No, it's going to be, I'm like, all right. He said, well, Stan will be there. I said, okay. Anyway, so it happens like that. And then the practical. I believe for whatever reason the family unit is broken. People are working too much, not paying attention to their kids. And I'm not saying everybody's doing it on purpose, but my son used to sneak out, so my kids did stupid stuff too. I did stupid stuff when my mama was working. Now though, the kids are picking up guns. You gotta talk to your boss, talk to somebody, say, no, I need to spend more time with my family. Because you got people, mothers and fathers, uncles and aunts saying, oh, well, I don't know that my nephew's got a gun. And they know they got a gun. Am I lying? You know they got a gun.
Yeah.
And they want to tell you, right? But nobody asks, because they're afraid to ask, because I don't want my nephew to be the one, I don't want my son to be the one. So the family unit is broken where we're not confronting our kids with what they're going through. Because listen, we're dealing with stuff. We got that person annoying us at work. We want our 5 minutes. If you've been married, I know you know what I'm talking about too. I just want some time just to enjoy something nice longer than 5 minutes. And I definitely don't want to deal with my son shooting somebody and putting somebody in a trash can.
Right, and this is the part where I just wanted to add, because we talked about this on a different occasion, that I didn't grow up with a gun in the house. So, and I didn't grow up with anybody of my friends or neighbors, anybody around me who had guns in the house. I have no experience with guns. I have never held a real gun.
Wow.
So unless El-Amin teaches me how to hold, or Stan teaches me how to hold a real gun, I'm not gonna pick up a real gun. So it's not in my experience. So I understand what you both are explaining about it, but one of the things that I wanted both of you to maybe address is like some of the sources of where that anger or tension or resolve comes from, like, I gotta have a gun. Like you started off that conversation like, the people that in Bon Air that you're working with, like, man, I don't know anybody that doesn't have a gun. I need the gun for it. Okay, talk to the people like me, and I'm guessing there's somebody else like me in this room who did not grow up with a gun in the house or the need to have a gun to defend themselves or to feel. Am I the only one that grew up this way?
Hey, look, in my opinion, and I'm gonna let Stan get this one. I'm saying, you know the Jordan phenomenon.
Yeah.
The kids gotta have Jordans.
Oh, the Jordan
It's
sneakers.
just like that. You are cool if you have a gun. Think about it, Dave. Now listen, even when I saw the guys with the guns when I was a kid, I knew to go the other way. But I didn't think they were weak. I just knew my mama wouldn't have me hanging around that guy.
Right.
And I don't want to get in trouble. But I never saw him as weak. I'm telling you, the guy with the gun has the power. Nobody's going to disrespect him. Nobody's going to bully the kid with the gun.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to bully the kid with the Jordans.
But there's some communities that don't need the gun.
Well, I don't know nothing about that. All I'm saying is I'm trying to tell you about the popularity, and it's a cool thing.
Gotcha.
Then don't let you get a cool gun.
Yeah.
No.
But so I want to jump in here and suggest that part of that has to do with like structural oppression too, right? That like, at least I can say in my community, right, there was somebody who brought a gun in junior high because she was being bullied, and we talked her out of using it. And it was because for there it was a class issue, right? That like our high school would feed and be quite diverse. I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, and so Chicago can be a mess. And I remember like talking this friend out of it. I was like, I don't care what she's saying to you. We're like 7th graders. There's nothing you need to shoot anybody over, right? And we were grateful that she told us about it, right? Because if she hadn't, couldn't have done anything. But there is, I'm really aware that has to do with the lack of access to financial power in the community I grew up in, right? That it was a way for her to feel powerful against people she otherwise felt always disempowered around, and not just that person, but all that person represented, like all the places that she walked and she wasn't welcome, all the places that she wasn't heard.
I see it as power, and now that you say that, I'm talking about cartoons and movies, I've never looked at anything, me growing up, the guy with the gun, I've never looked down on him. Like, I'm one, if anything, I'm gonna shut up and I'm gonna go somewhere else, but I'm not looking at him as well, we need to go have a conversation.
No,
Nah, that's,
not if you wanna live.
and, yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah, no,
saying,
yeah,
and
no, yeah,
living
yeah.
is the thing, right?
Yeah,
So,
Yep,
but look at the gangster movies.
you know,
Now, come on, like, y'all saw Scarface, right?
So many of them, yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I get that Scarface is not a good thing, right? Whatever. Listen, I'm y'all see how small I am. I loved when I didn't get picked on. Now I use my smarts, Jack and the Beanstalk. I had to figure it out
yeah,
without a gun.
yeah.
And I'm a smart guy. I know I'm a smart guy.
So-
But I do get why somebody would say, I'm just gonna get a gun. I don't have to say anything at all.
Yeah.
Yep.
But Stan knows better than me.
St. Paul Episcopal. Been on this corner for how long?
175.
75 years, right? Do you remember the Earl Hotel right there? You remember McDonald's? It was right around the corner on Broad Street. I brought my first gun there. I think I was 16
At the McDonald's.
at the McDonald's. Every day, when you get ready to go outside your house, you know you need a shirt, you know you need certain things. Before your car can run, you know you need gas. Guns today are fashionable. It's a fashion. It's no different than having a watch on, cufflinks. It's no different than having a shirt on. It's fashionable. Even if you're not gonna use a gun, still fashionable. It's politically correct for their environment, for their neighborhoods,
Yeah.
but not for yours.
You see? Yeah.
Uh,
I told you.
Right.
The gun's not the problem. The gun's not the problem.
Interesting.
It's the mindset of the people with the gun.
Yep.
That's the problem. They feel as though that if they don't take control, right, then it's going to get out of control. Yes, ma'am.
What I'm hearing is that we've got several generations whose distress from segregation, bad jobs, political imbalances, all those generational things have come down in the system. And it's depending on your neighborhood, there's gonna be flavors of systems, but it sounds like the young people that are in the city now are the inheritors of a toxic brew of fear, disenfranchisement, lack of people and place and accomplishments of which to be proud for themselves.
Exposure, yeah.
And it's easier to pick up a gun, and it's socially acceptable through our media to pick up a weapon. And it's more socially acceptable to pick up a weapon than it is to find the teacher that might be able to help you, talk to the policeman who's there to help, talk to your parents who may not even be there. And it's highly probable that more than a few, for some of these young people, more than a few of their relatives have been through the detention system, have been through all this, and their lessons are, you gotta have a gun. So there's very little pushback culturally against the imperative that these youth are feeling. They don't have a reason to think otherwise at this point.
Absolutely.
I agree with that, and you should have a seat up here.
Yeah.
Because we talked out there on some soup, and you're very informative, got a lot of good insight. Does the military need guns?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right then, right? You got wars. You got wars in the community.
Yeah.
All the guns, yep.
You gotta have a gun. But with the gun, I remember there was an officer there in the jail, and he told Officer Holmes or something, he told a guy, the guy said, the guy questioned him about he was a minister. The guy said, you a minister and you got a gun. He said, you better be glad that I do have the gun and I'm a minister, because I know what to do with the gun. See, the gun is only dangerous when the lack of love exists. That's when the gun is dangerous. That's when the gun kills. With this city, hey, I would not tell these young guys that they couldn't have guns.
Right.
I wouldn't even try to buy their guns back, because they're not gonna sell it. Who in Afghanistan gonna sell you a gun when he have an adversary
Right there.
right there, got him in the scope? But what I would do if I was a leader of this city, I would start in saying, hey, listen, let's take a look at why you're using the gun. I got no problems with defense, but everybody's using the gun for offense. The gun is to protect yourself and property. The police don't protect me. You get the call afterwards. So don't tell me, right? Don't tell me about something that does not make sense on no level. I would say, hey, listen, what's the word, moratorium?
A moratorium?
Moratorium?
Yeah.
Stop the killing. Today we're gonna have no gun violence, just today.
One day.
One day.
It would be amazing.
Yeah.
And if you can get one day where people use the gun for offense, for defense,
Yeah.
instead of offense, hey,
If nobody's on the
you
offense.
just gained some ground.
Yeah, nobody's on the offense, there's no need for the defense,
Yeah.
right?
You just gained some ground.
Yeah.
Another thing that I would say, I just want to put it out there, right? This is what the Bible says. In the beginning there was the Word, right? And the Word was with him. And the Word was
Good.
was good, right? Okay? So in the beginning of all solutions, of all creations, is a word. You gotta start speaking a word. That's the problem. We're speaking, but we're not speaking the right word. Hey, in Mosby Court, Whitman Court, if a child, where that girl got killed right there, right on the corner of, what, First Street?
Yeah.
In East Baker, the one way?
Yep.
Hey, do you know when it's time for election, right? How do you know when it's time for election? You see all these signs. You see all of these little signs that just pop up everywhere, right? Hey, listen. I think that when a child dies, when an individual dies, right, I think every place should have a sign. Every place should have a sign. Not a sign from the Richmond Police Department, but put a sign from the schools, the little children. Put those signs up. And I guarantee you some of them are gonna get kicked down. I guarantee you that. But more will be read than kicked down. They will still have a word on them if they kick down. They'll still have a word. And if you can get people to start proclaiming, only thing I want them to do is just read it, right? And if we go on a campaign, if we go on a campaign, a military strategy, a campaign against gun violence, you gotta understand, if I'm out there selling drugs and I'm out there with a gun in my pocket and I see a sign right there and say, we love people, we don't want gun violence, we care about people, we don't want this on our block, right? And I guarantee you that sign becomes surveillance. I don't want to pull that gun out because it's 100,000 signs around. The signs become surveillance. You know, it convicts the heart. That's what it does, it convicts the heart. And, you know, the mayor says, okay, we're gonna put in $1.2 million to study of this, to study of that. But if you put a sign up and you have little stickers, you know how y'all got that little sticker on that little bird? If you can get people to start putting stickers at their door, we believe in life. Hey, been to a dude like me, I ain't gonna do it on this street.
Because why?
Because of the word. Because of the word will create thought. And the thought is not to get caught. Right? You don't want to get caught. So if you see a bunch of signs, see, because when the police come around, what dudes do? I'm gonna bam with this, I'm gonna put this up. You know? So those signs become community awareness.
Let me piggyback. Now, I'm not much of a sign person. I am a blueprint person. So what I like to see is people walk the walk. Y'all heard of Denzel Washington?
Yes.
Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
If you ever see me on a police call, that's who I try to be. I'm trying to emulate those dudes. Humphrey Bogart, y'all, some people know that. Cool Hand Luke, y'all heard of that movie?
Oh, yes.
Just be cool for no reason. Now he's one of my guys. Ooh, you want to talk about a sign? So yeah, blueprint is my thing. The things that I went to work every day because of my dad. My mom was a teacher in the city schools. And she was cool. My big brother was an athlete. My big sister is chief of staff with the Richmond Police Department. I've had coaches, people I just look up to, walk in it, and I'm like, how in the world? And then don't give me somebody who went through something. I'm like, well, how in the world are they cool and they're going through that? And I may not know the backstory and everything, but I'm like, well, I guess I could be cool about this. Mandela, right, in jail for forever and a day, and I'm mad because my cable off. No, you know what I'm saying? Stan did all that time, right? And I'm mad we didn't get our raise when I wanted to get it. And Stan come here talking about some love and drawings, sunshine on letters. I said, well, what has he got? I want some of it. And then there's another word too where the lady just wanted the crumbs off the table.
Yeah.
Whew. Look, I ain't even supposed to be talking like this. I thought we was talking about gun violence. Listen.
Well, it's not faith.
Yeah, all of that.
Yes, it's intersex.
I tend to like to be inspired. Because at the end of the day, y'all, I can talk all I want, but if I didn't move you with the way you feel, you ain't remember nothing I said. But if you remember one thing tomorrow morning, you're like, you know what? I was mad about this. But El-Amin has been 5'2" for quite some time. If you ain't mad about it. I'm serious. Yeah, man, anyway, so yeah. You put up the signs and you be my sign, you be my blueprint.
Okay, that's what's
Okay,
up.
That's cool.
I want to put the blueprint and the sign together, and I have to ask it this way, because what you described sounds so rational and so empathetic and so straightforward, right? We just want to tell the whole community we don't stand for this, right? So what he's assuming in that campaign is that there is a we that would stand behind the message, and that there's an infrastructure that will make the signs and put the signs up. So whether it's actual physical signs or some other way, you understand his intent is to get the community to say this and to behave this way, and as he put it at the end, the message becomes its own reinforcement or surveillance. So like it's gonna tell somebody who's thinking of taking their fashionable gun out of their pocket, this is not the place to do it because this community doesn't believe in that. So I wanted to ask, well, not just you, I wanted to ask everybody really, why don't we do that?
Why can't we do that?
It's not
Well,
popular.
What's getting in our way of doing it?
Okay, making the signs is easy. We
Right.
make signs for campaigns all the time, right? We just had an election today, or, yeah, right? So it's,
No, no,
it's
no.
not the
It's
practical,
It's,
what's
man,
getting
it's,
in the way?
it's fear, it's not popular. When the people came and started tearing up the city, I was like, how in the world is this happening? I'm like, we don't act like those police over there. Everybody's gonna defend us.
No, true.
What they do?
True.
No. Closing my shutters because they don't want to be a victim of the wolves. We become sheep.
Mm.
So when I saw that, man, I told that I went to counseling. I'm talking about preachers and everything. I'm like, hey, and talk to them behind closed doors. I'm like, how come nobody's defending us? I'm like, y'all know what we do in Richmond, right? So how there are no commercials? Can you do a video with me?
Right.
Well, I don't know about that. Because everybody wants to take care of their own.
No, that's a good point.
It's
You're right.
not popular, and I don't want to be a victim and suffer the repercussions of changing, right, and standing up. Now, you got some people, this little silly dude that does it, right?
Yeah.
But I do it in my own way. Now, let me say this. Everybody's got to do it in their own way. I can't do it like Stan, y'all. Y'all see, I can't do it like Stan. Stan can't do it like me either, right? I do it in my way, but everybody's got that thing. Everybody in here, you'll do it in a little special way. Now, I will say I will steal a little and just tweak it. But I believe you encourage people to be themselves, and another person will be like, well, okay, well, they did it this way. I might not do it exactly like that, but the whole message will be, yeah, we're just gonna do it without guns. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
But the whole, we're all gonna do it exactly like this, that doesn't work. That's never worked. Because what is it? That's not communism. What is that? Everybody has to do it exactly like this. What is that?
No, it's not capitalism.
That's not capitalism.
Social.
Socialism.
Fashion.
Fascism.
Fascism.
Everybody does it exactly like this. You cannot have a blue pendant on your shirt. No.
Right.
No.
That's,
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna do that.
No.
We've got to figure out to have the courage to know that God is in you. And if you gotta have somebody hold your hand for a little while, like me, you're all right, but no, go do it your way.
Yeah.
Cause it gets better. I tell my kids all the time, y'all. And I say it enough, so I hope it sinks in. I'm like, look, y'all gonna do it better than me. I say, I'm not saying I'm better than the people I came after, but I'm doing it better than them, and y'all gonna do it better than me, because y'all see all my mistakes. And y'all see how country I talk and how square I am. Y'all gonna get right to the point and save way more people. Like, sir, I really believe that.
Yeah.
Look, y'all see what I got on?
Yeah.
Y'all ever seen a cop come in there with sneakers on, jeans, and a shirt on?
You look like me, except for you got a polo.
There it is. Now look, I'm asking
We got the same shirt.
We got the same shirt.
if anybody at work is watching this, they didn't sanction me to wear
They
this.
didn't authorize
I
that.
I do it because I think it's going to get through to the people I'm trying to get through to.
Yeah.
Like seriously, this is the way I dress. I'm not
No.
doing it for fun. I'm just like,
They know your spirit. They know
that's what I'm looking
Yeah.
for. We got to do it in our own spirit.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, you know what I'm saying.
Can I piggyback?
Yes.
There's a scripture, because this is faith
Faith and culture.
and culture. There's a scripture where God asked the three individuals, what did you do with your talent? What did you do with them? You know, one guy said, I only had one. I only had one. I kept mine. I only had one. But I didn't keep it. I didn't keep it. I'm giving it. Just a little one. And I would encourage the people that have 1.5
Yeah.
to at least give half of it.
Yeah.
You know, you can keep one for yourself, but just give a half. You know, because ultimately, right, we have to Prince said that we have to die before we die, so that way when we do die, we don't die. And I said, man, Prince, God dog, man. You gotta die to yourself, of selfishness. So that way when you do die, you don't die. Isn't that what Jesus did?
Yep.
He died to self, so that way when he did die, he didn't die. He rose. I don't like coming to these events if it's just for a night. I like coming to these as a launching pad. I really do. I don't think that Carol's comes to prison. You ever heard of Carol's?
Yeah, the prison ministry.
God's time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
God's time.
the way they get you in the room is the same way Jesus got people to listen to him. He fed them. If Jesus wouldn't have fed, if he would have fed one man, he would only had one of us.
True.
So I may be out of place. I admire these two people. But it seems to me I work out of Petersburg a lot. There's 130 churches there. There's one church every block here. But there's no love coming out of the church. You go to church, and it's all about saving souls, give the money to God. We hear a little story about how Jesus loved the people. But we don't hear the preacher saying, love thy neighbor. We don't have sessions about loving thy neighbor and what love of thy neighbor is. So I don't know how we can get churches back to loving rather than saving souls. And therefore, let's have less violence. Because if we do love our neighbor, we're not going to have as much violence.
And it's the story of the Bible.
Yeah.
Because if you look at, what is it, Ephesians, Thessalonians, did I pronounce it right?
Yeah, Thessalonians, yeah.
Those are the letters to the church.
That's right. That's right.
And some of the letters, right, were actually rebuking.
Yep.
Was rebuking. The reason why we fail, and you hit it right on the head, old school, it's the church. See, because love can do all things but fail. Policies can fail. Ministrations can fail. But love can't fail. You know, it's so ironic, right? Because my mother, my own mother, that raised me, she never saw the fruit. Only thing she knew is her son, she died while her son was in prison. Wow. She didn't, this is faith, right? Show you how faithful God is. God made a promise to Abraham. Abraham never saw it. Never saw it. Even after Abraham had departed, God was still faithful to his promise. My mother, God was faithful to his promise that he made to his mother, that God was going to change my life. God did, and it's still changing. It's still evolving. We live in a convoluted time. What that got to do with us? I'm not of this world. I'm supposed to do things that aren't conceivable to this world. Why? Because the Bible says that God's people are peculiar people. So it's time for us to start being not what's socially acceptable or politically acceptable, right? But what is pleasing before God. Y'all got me going.
You are preaching a good word.
Y'all got me going.
Well, I don't want to stop our conversation, but we can continue to have conversation outside. But first, I'd like to thank you guys.
Wow.
So
this is
if you can believe it, yes. But I want to keep talking. But I need to be mindful of the people online as well. we will thank you properly in a moment. But I also want to invite folks that we have our next talk coming up. What is the date for that? Kelly?
December 7th.
Sorry.
There are some communications on the table as well as on our website.
Yeah, so December 7th is our next faith and culture talk. And we will be having Erica Sims, who is worked in nonprofit management and affordable housing development and community organizing fields for over 18 years. And you can see more fully her sort of bio, but she'll be talking with us about a housing affordability crisis issue here. So we will continue to take up hard and interrelated conversations about these intersections of faith and culture. So we hope you will join us for that. And yes, if we can now give a big round of applause and so much gratitude. You're supposed to close us in prayer.
Oh, yeah, happy to do that. God, I want to thank you for bringing El-Amin and Stan with us here tonight. And God, I hope you remember El-Amin in his walk through the city.
That's right.
And I hope you remember Stan in his walk through the city. And the different paths that they tread are the paths that we tread as we all seek the same end. And I say this prayer to the God who passes all understanding, to the God who transcends all the limitations of what we know, to the God who reaches down into our own hearts and will help us follow in their tread through the city to reduce gun violence. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. This was great. Thank you for allowing us.
Oh no, thank you. This was amazing.
Thank you all for being here.
Thank you guys.
Once again, thank you for
Yeah.
Yeah, really good to see you.
Yeah. Yeah.